some of my top comics from 2025. So first of all, it's Absolute Universe from DC, hands down, one of the best things that came out this year. I love Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman. Those are some of my favorite, and Absolute Martian Manhunter as well, are some of my favorite books that came out this year. But they weren't like my favorite series. I think Martian Manhunter definitely was up there. Absolute Batman, I think I really loved the hype more than I cared for like some of the stories that was being told in the in some of the comics. The Absolute Batman Annual specifically is probably like the best out of the whole entire run, in my opinion, specifically the Daniel Warren Johnson story. I did a whole video on it on my main channel, but I'm just gonna take a special shout out to them for what they do, but they're not in like my favorite comics. Like the comics that I've picked for this year, like the books that I've picked up and read, like instantly, like I picked up, I read it, and then I was like, oh, like I can't put this down. I'm going to continue to read it. I'm kind of divvying it up between like mainstream comics, and for this pile that I have, so I don't really have a lot. I don't really read a lot of Marvel or DC stuff. My mainstream is technically going to be like smaller press books. So like Image, which isn't a small press, but like Image. I have some Bad Idea, Fantagraphics. I got one Marvel book in here. What else I got in here? Yeah, like Fantagraphics. First book that I'm gonna shout out and show appreciation to is this book right here, Cul-de-Sac by Mike Carey and Jonathan Weishak. I picked this book up because of Jonathan Weishak. I don't know if you guys have read this book. It's essentially about like vampires and these kids whose parents were pretty much killed in the first issue, and then they are being hunted down, and they are not vampires. They are these new versions of vampires called like nocturnals or nocturnes. I'm not sure I have the terminology right, but essentially they are stronger than vampires. They are the predators of the vampires. So like their parents were all killed, but the kids are still alive, and they're pretty much essentially in these first couple issues are trying to run away and get to this like manor that should be a place that the main two girls' mom told them to go to if something ever happened to them. And yeah, so, I mean, Jonathan Weishak, he kind of reminds me of like a new age Sam Keith. He does a lot on the page with this comic, just anything like watercolor, crayons. It seems like color pencil. Like he goes from like cartoony to surreal. I'm like, look at this panel right here. That is amazing. And yeah, I didn't really know too much about Jonathan Weishak. I kind of seen him online a little bit. I followed him on Instagram, and he's just a phenomenal artist. Like he'll have like panels like this that go kind of like this avant-garde-esque, and then right here like this like cartoony child face, but he uses a lot of different techniques in this comic, and it's really, really good. It doesn't really get as much traction as I feel like it should, but I think it's doing pretty well. I mean, it's from Bad Idea, which is like a smaller press, and like a more of a newer comic imprint that I've seen around. But this series, Cul-de-Sac, is on issue 6 right now. I don't know if it's going to be just a 6-issue run, or if it's going to be longer than that. I don't know, but so far it's been pretty good. The storyline's pretty great for the most part, and the artwork is amazing. Like I said, Jonathan Weishak to me is like a new age Sam Keith. So he kind of reminds me of. The next comic that I really enjoyed this year was Battle Beast. This is the issue number 5, or 6, Sean Gordon Murphy variant cover. But yeah, this comic was just, I'm an Invincible guy. If you guys don't know, huge fan. Invincible is like one of my favorite comics of all time. Even before the show, it was like one of the first comics I ever got into back in middle school. And when they announced the Battle Beast comic, I was all in for it. I got the blind bags. I did the whole 9 yards. And I was just, hyped up for them to come back with not only Invincible, like universe stuff, but with the main creators of Invincible. It's like I saw Robert Kirkman and Ryan Otley, who's one of my favorite artists, were going to work on the series. I was all in. I didn't care if the story was going to be cheeks or not. I just know Ryan Otley's just amazing. And he's like one of those artists that are in the tier for me, where no matter what comics they're doing, between whether Spider-Man, Hulk, Invincible, Battle Beast, I'm gonna pick it up. I don't care what it is. So and for the most part, the story is really good. It's gonna give a lot of back. It seems like they're going to just continue to build upon like the universe of Invincible, all this stuff in between time, and stuff like that. I can kind of see it being this like cameo type comic where we're going to see a lot of Invincible like favorite characters pop up here and there in the series. Obviously started with Battle Beast, which is like I think one of the most popular characters outside of Mark and Nolan. So we'll see where it goes from here. I think they're going to start the second story arc in March, so I'm pretty hyped to see where it continues on. The next book is this Peach Momoko's Ultimate X-Men. Is really, really good. It's really, really great. I love Peach Momoko's work. I think she's a phenomenal artist. She just does a lot of dope stuff. I'm not like I wasn't like a huge fan of all this Ultimate stuff, but I'm a fan of Peach Momoko, so I just wanted to pick it up and just give it a read. And I think it did pretty good for the most part. I love the May Storm character. I like her character design. I think she, looks pretty cool. And I've been pretty much keeping up to date with it. I haven't been picking up the issues specifically. I just wait for the trades to come out, and I've just been picking up the trades pretty much. But this is, I think, for me at least, out of all the Ultimate stuff that came out this last 2 years, is probably on my favorite series. I didn't read the Spider-Man one, the Black Panther one, or whatever else they had going on. I wasn't here for it, honestly. And but for that, it was pretty good. So I picked this series up. Pretty good. It's by writer Patrick Kindlund and Mauricio Rosenwig is the artist, and it's a really, really cool comic. It's about like this assassin. She's like takes this mafia leader's kid and kind of goes on a run with the child, and she's getting hunted down by all the other mafias. It's kind of like a John Wick type story. The artwork is really, really good. The stories, for the most part, it's okay for the most part. I really like the artwork. And it was interesting, kind of like a one-off series that came out this year. I think is gonna go into a second story arc. I think this issue number 6 kind of alluded to that. I don't know. We'll see. These two guys, I think they work on a lot of books together. They have a lot of things they've done together in the past. But it was pretty good for them. I liked it. I mean, it was pretty interesting. This was another good one. Ghost Pepper. This came from Image as well. There's one artist, and he wrote it and drew it. Lubabi. Yeah, he's another European artist. He's really dope. He has like an American or like a Western manga feel to it. It's a pretty interesting story. It's about like this guy named Ash who helped these groups of people stop this like inevitable like monster being from destroying the planet, and then he ends up getting erased from history while one of the people in the team takes all the credit and becomes like the leader of the world. And he like goes into hiding or sleeping. They haven't really explained yet what happened to him. And then he like for like a bunch of years he's like in like sleeping or like I don't know. And he essentially comes back out of nowhere, and after his like long slumber, and it kind of starts wreaking havoc unintentionally. It's a really good comic. I think it's pretty cool. I would pick it up for sure. If you're like that, like kind of like American manga fusion look, that's kind of what really drew me into the book. And the fact that it is one writer artist as well. I'm really into that type of stuff. So if a writer artist, if a person is the writer and the artist of the book, I'm more than likely going to pick it up, especially if I like the artwork. All right. So the next comic that I read this year is Minor Threats. Minor Threats is super duper dope. It's essentially about a bunch of like low level villains who have to kind of what's the word? Trying to get fucked up by this like Batman equivalent character who's kind of losing his mind because his sidekick got killed, and they kind of go through all these hijinks and try to figure out what's going on and what happened, and they're trying to find the villain that killed the sidekick in order to kind of save their asses. It's a really, really good comic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Pat Oswalt's writing is really good. Scott Hepburn's art is phenomenal. He's a fan. Like he's got a fan out of me. Anything he does at this point, I'm going to pick up. Yeah, it's a really interesting take on just like superheroes and like kind of like the world of like comics. It's like a somewhat parody, kind of. I wouldn't say it's like like a dissection of like the superhero tropes or anything in that nature. It doesn't go really that far like a Watchmen or anything like that. It's more of just kind of like plays on the tropes of a superhero world and with villains and stuff, and kind of adds on to it. And they've done a good job of like doing pretty much building a universe around it. They have this one comic called Barfly, who is a character in this series who's like a minor character. They made a whole like mini run with the character named Barfly, and it was a really, really good comic. I read that one as well. And yeah, I mean, and they are on the third arc, I believe, right now. It's coming out. I've been picking it up. It's pretty good. It's kind of following up what has been going on the last 2 arcs. It's a really, really good comic. I would highly recommend it. Spectators. This one is really, really good. Brian K. Vaughan and Nico Harrigan. This one is little graphics of like, you know, definitely for adults. It's essentially about this girl who's kind of, it seems to me maybe like a porn addict or a sex addict, and she gets killed by a mass shooter at a movie theater, and she ends up going and becoming a ghost, and she's like with all his other ghosts, and she's pretty much just watches time go by, and that's why they're called spectators. She meets this cowboy kind of guy, and they essentially go around the universe and just watch everybody do a bunch of wild stuff. And then in the mix of the story, the world starts to end, and yeah, it just kind of goes from there. It's kind of like a statement on just kind of like how kind of sex works, and like how people kind of perceive it, and like, you know, all these like other things like fetishes, how people kind of get that way. I believe it was a comic that was done through Brian K. Vaughan's Substack during COVID, and they decided to I guess, you know, make it into a comic. But it's a really, really good book. I really would highly recommend it, you know, if you're of age and you want to read something that's pretty interesting. It was a quick read. It wasn't like super in-depth or like super what's the word I'm looking for, like drawn out and have like a lot of crazy stuff, you know, or crazy messaging, but it kind of alludes to a lot of cool stuff, and it was a good book. I really, really enjoyed it. Brian K. Vaughan, I really like Brian K. Vaughan's work. He's a really good writer, like Paper Girls and, you know, things like that. So the next book that I read this year that I really, really liked was I Hate This Place by Kyle Starks and Atrium Topolin. And so this book is about this couple is a married couple, and they move into this farm that is essentially haunted. And on the farm, they don't know it's haunted, but they know the main girl. She essentially is told when she's growing up, because it's her aunt's farm, she inherits it from her aunt and her uncle who had passed away, and they tell them, do not leave the house at nighttime, or shit's gonna happen. And obviously they kind of do that, and they kind of see what happens. And this is a dope comic. I think it was like an 8-issue run. You know, it wasn't like super duper long. It's only 2 trades. Both the trades are out right now, and it's just really, really good. It's a fun read. Interesting concept of like the ghosts and the like monsters at nighttime. Kind of playing on like the farm feel with just like, you know, a bunch of crazy stuff going on. Atrium's artwork is really, really good. I would highly recommend it. It was, like I said, it's a quick, fun read. And it's just like a lot of other hijinks and, you know, crazy stuff going on. It kind of goes a lot of different places, and you know, I personally really, really liked it. I thought it was really good. So that was one of my favorite ones I read this year. This book I saw this on Reddit. It's called Stitches. It's a memoir book by David Smalls. It's essentially about his childhood. You know, it's a memoir, and it kind of just goes through his time getting these stitches on his head. He ended up having to get like a tumor taken out of his skull at like 8 or something like that. And it kind of talks about like family and, you know, trauma, and kind of, you know, dissects his whole like life, essentially just kind of growing up. He has like a really toxic relationship with his family, his parents, and it's just a really, really good book. I really, really liked it. It was a fun read. I love like slice of life and memoir comics. Is kind of like some of my favorite genre of books. You know, I think it's just kind of like, I like reading comics that are like mundane stories that are like really, like I said, a regular slice of life and not, you know, fantastical. And I love to see how artists interpret those types of stories and make them interesting. And and the tumor wasn't in his head; it was in his throat. So like he had to get surgery on his throat, get like some of his lymph nodes taken out, I think, or something in that nature. And he couldn't talk for a little bit. And it's a really, really good comic. It's really, really great. I would highly recommend it. It's pretty acclaimed. It got the National Book Award, or it was a finalist for it. It was a New York Times bestseller. And I think David Smalls went on to work on a lot of like animations and stuff like that. So this next book, these next two books are from Noah Van Sciver, the only Van Sciver I respect in comics. These are One Dirty Tree and Maple Terrace. Both of these books are like memoir type books again. The first book I read by Noah Van Sciver was actually not too long ago. It was As a Cartoonist, which is another slice of life book by him. And so, Noah, he's a good cartoonist. These books are really interesting. Like this one is about his time being like a kid in the like 90s, a comic book fan. And he kind of just talks about, growing up and being a fan of comics and kind of get into it. This one's more like just like a real story. Like it's centered in like essentially in like a 1 or 2 day span, and just kind of, growing up at that time. And just like enjoying comics, being a child, and being poor and not being able to afford comics, and just just stuff like that. And then One Dirty Tree, which is about his life more. This one kind of goes more into depth in like what was going on in his family. So if you read these two, and then as a cartoonist, you kind of get like a good idea of who like Noah Van Sciver is. And I really, really like these comics. Like I was saying, these memoir slice of life comics, they do a good job of just kind of some artists, right? It's just like interesting the way they interpret the mundane and like regular situations and make them artsy, essentially, like, and make it entertaining for the reader. So this one is about like more in depth in his life, about his life at the time, like growing up, essentially like these dirt poor Mormon people, like just like all this that was kind of going on with his dad, his mom, and having like 10 siblings and just a bunch of other stuff. And also goes back and forth between then and I guess the more like his early days as a cartoonist and being like poor, having to work at Panera, and having relationship issues with his girlfriend, who essentially wants somebody who's giving a more healthier lifestyle and more money brought in, and not just like getting like I guess advanced checks from like publishers, and then having to work at Panera when the money dries up, and stuff like that. It's really good. They're really good reads, quick reads. The next book I read that I really loved this year was Deadly Class. This is probably like hands down probably one of the best comics I think I've ever read in general. Rick Remender and Wes Craig. This comic is phenomenal. It's kind of like, I would say like a Euphoria, but with assassin, like, and Wes Craig's art is really great. Like I found Wes Craig from Aya, and then I kind of, I like Rick Remender. I've read some of his stuff before, like Black Science and other things like that. But Deadly Class was a whole different feel. Obviously, Rick Remender's writing it, but it's just so good, man. Like this is one of the series that I read, and I read the whole thing through. Like I bought the trade just kind of check it out, see if I was gonna like it or not. And then I bought the compendium and then just read the whole compendium within like 2 weeks. It's just an enjoyable comic, and Rick Remender does a really good job of building up all the characters. Like I don't feel like any character is like left out, or I don't know what their purpose is or what they want. And Wes Craig does a good job of like giving his own feel to it, and adding his artistic stylings. Obviously, I'm like super late on this comic. This comic is really, really popular. They had a TV adaptation back during like 2019, 2020. I think it got canceled after like, I think COVID kind of messed it up. But it's a really, really good read. If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend to pick this up. It's a really good comic. The next series that I read that I really enjoyed was Southern Bastards. This one is another comic that I think is getting adapted by Hulu or Netflix. I think it was just announced. This is Jason Aaron and Jason Latour. Really good comic about, it starts off with like this dad who well, not dad, but like this guy, he goes back to his hometown, which is kind of corrupted by and ran by the football coach, because down south there in Alabama, football is everything. You know what I'm saying? Nobody, I don't give a piss about nothing but the tat. That's the kind of vibes they got going on down there. And the head coach of the high school football team in Craw County is the pretty much the person who runs everything. And the main character, he goes down there to help sell his uncle's house, who's sick and can't live there no more. And we kind of get like this backstory about his dad, who was a sheriff at the time. And then the main guy who kind of goes there, he kind of, he tries to like impede on what's going on, and it kind of goes from there. It's kind of like a crime drama book. Jason Latour's artwork is really, really good. The writing is done really well. Jason Aaron is a really good writer. This one is one of those series again that I kind of picked up and didn't want to put down. I really read it. It was a quick, easy read, great character development, good pacing. I'm interested to see how they're going to do the story for this for the movie, but it's a really good comic. All right, so the next one that I picked up, this one's from Fantagraphics, is Blood of the Virgin by Sammy Harkin. Was it Markin? No, Harkin. Sammy Harkin. Harkham, whatever. Either way. So this comic is again like one of my favorites. I'll be honest with you, that I read this year. Is really, really good cartooning. It's essentially about this screenwriter and like old Hollywood. I think it's like the 50s or 60s, 70s, and he's writing a screenplay for a book, for a movie called Blood of the Virgin. That gets picked up, and he's pretty much trying to get the movie done. And then we kind of get this like melodrama type comic about his personal life with his wife, who's like his foreign. I think she's from like Iran or something like that. And then we just kind of get this whole character piece. Essentially, like this book can be like a movie. Like we kind of get like a deep dive of all the characters, and just kind of like we also get like a real view of kind of old Hollywood and how kind of things ran, and the type of movies that were popular at the time, and a whole lot of good stuff. And this is a really good comic. There's and it's like a lot of really, really good cartooning. It's not like super high. I mean, it's good detail, but it's like good cartooning for what the story, like the artwork runs really, really well for what the story is about and what it kind of is talking about. And it was a really thoroughly like enjoyable read. This page right here is like one of my favorite pages of like cartooning, where like these guys are filming on a set, and it's illegal for them to film there because they don't have all of the paperwork right to film the scene. Like they need all like the insurance stuff, blah 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 blah. And so the cops come and raid the set, and they all run away. And then like it's like there's no dialogue. It's like 20 fucking panels on a page, maybe even more. And they're running away from the cops, and we kind of see like the motion of them running away, tumbling down this hill, hopping over a fence, and it's just really, really good. It's a really good comic. Again, highly recommend. Definitely pick that up. Next book out of the last one out of the mainstream small press pile is Ben Passmore's Black Arms That Hold You Up. This is a comic essentially about the history of Black revolutionaries, from like the Black Panthers, the movement, people who rebelled against like white supremacy in the South, who essentially just weren't going for this shit, and like hidden history that isn't really told in today's society. And it kind of is Ben Passmore, who is a proud anarchist. That's like his political ideology, and he essentially trying to kind of like narrates through the time, like as a self insert, and kind of like maneuvers through the time of all these Black radical movements and ideologies and people who are there, like Marcus Garvey and things like that. It's a really, really good book. I was actually been waiting a couple years for this book. He announced it a while back, and I don't know why it took so long for it to come out. But it's just great, man. He talks like Assata Shakur, and so many other things. I learned a lot reading this book, and I definitely plan on, checking out stuff. And Ben Passmore is a great cartoonist in general. He does a lot of good work. This is really good. It's like black, white, and pink. It's some shit. Just really good stuff. Highly recommend to pick it up if you're interested in learning about some history that is essentially hidden. That's my pile of books that are small press or mainstream books that I read this year in 2025 that I really, really enjoyed.